Hello friends, this is another installment in my series, A YouTube Beginner's Journal. I've evaluated microphones and lighting a little bit. Now I'm looking at cameras, and in this case I'm working with the cameras that I just happen to already have. This is a Nikon D3200 SLR that has a video capability. This is a Logitech HD Webcam C615. I've got a Moto G5 cell phone that I'm also using for my audio recording device. Been having good luck with that. And you're watching this through a Canon Vixia HFM 300. So we're going to kind of take a variety of shots with each camera and looking at the other cameras to kind of get an idea of what their capabilities are. The main things that I have to consider is kind of depth of field, kind of general quality, light sensitivity, and one thing I've run into that's kind of a limitation with the Canon camcorder you're looking at is the close-up focus capability. Each of these cameras kind of has different capabilities and are ideal for different situations, but you know, there's probably one that I'll use most of the time. I've been using the Canon camcorder that you're looking through right now. That's worked well so far, but there are probably other situations where I could use some of these others and benefit from those. So with this one, first of all, let's zoom in really close. We begin to run into a limitation on the focusing. You can see here I'm about 3 feet away from the Nikon symbol that you're seeing in terms of physical placement. And one of the things about camcorders as opposed to other types of cameras is that they typically have a very broad zoom range, and that's what this one does. It's about 5 years old, has a 15:1 zoom, and that's okay, but turns out, you see I have to back out a little bit before it gets sharp again. So that's a limitation, but it might be one we can live with, or it might be something that the other cameras can do better in some way. So now, still with the Canon camcorder, I'm going to turn off my kind of soft light I've been using. That was featured in another video, and we'll see how we do with a darker lighting situation. This is providing a lot of light, more than a camcorder would often get in a typical home situation. So we'll turn that off, and on my little video monitor here, still looks pretty good. I'm going to take out one fluorescent tube. I've got a fluorescent light above this providing all the light you're seeing. There's one fluorescent tube. There's 0 fluorescent tubes. And I've got a little bit of light coming in from a window. I just turned off a kind of a desk lamp magnifying light, turned it back on. So it looks like our performance is you know, reasonable with just this one single light. That's actually good. And you can see here with all the lights off, the video is pretty noisy. That's, you know, understandable. That's actually, it's actually good, I think, under the circumstances of the extremely poor lighting that I'm working with at this moment. So we'll move on to another combination next. Well, we swapped out the Canon camcorder that I was shooting with before is now here. You're looking through the Nikon D3200, and the other two elements are the same. As we've got our soft light. The Nikon is set with a 55mm lens, which is rated 3.5 to 5.6 for the speed of the lens. I've got all of my lights on now. Going to turn off some of my fluorescent bulbs with a quick twist. You can see that we've got some nice shadows that appeared here. Turning off my desk lamp. Starker shadow. This is illumination only from the soft light. Turn that off. And after things come back into place, this is usable but pretty grainy. Kind of comparable, I'd say, to what we did with the camcorder. Let's turn on the desk light again. So the last shot, I think, with the lights off was kind of unusable. This one, it looks like, is fine as far as usability goes with just this desk light. So the light sensitivity here, I think, is comparable and you know, useful enough for my purposes with this lens. You can get a faster lens. I've got a faster lens available that doesn't have autofocus that I may use for some shots, but I think this is working pretty well so far. Next, we're going to do an autofocus test. Right now, this is on a setting where it doesn't change focus, but it's sort of pre-focused, and then you go from there. We're continuing with the Nikon. I've changed the shot a little bit. I'm in its auto tracking subject mode for focus. I've moved things a little bit farther away, and we're going to use my hand as a focusing object to see if we track with that. Nothing up my sleeve. That isn't focusing very well. Let's see if it's within the range. I'm going to hit the focus button manually. So after a little hunting, we get there. It's not doing the automatic focusing that I want. I've just hit the button again. That may be a thing where I need to learn more how to run it. We'll try zooming in a little bit. So that wasn't a big success, and let's try a different focus setting in case I've got the wrong one. Okay, we're going to try again with a different setting. This is called normal area. So here comes the hand. We're still not following it. Maybe I'm just expecting too much. I'm pushing the button. We hunt and we find it. So I think the camcorder does a much better job of focus tracking. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. Maybe I still don't have the right setting. We're shooting now with an older 50mm f1.4 lens I've had for several years. This one doesn't have autofocus, and it's kind of the reason I stayed a Nikon guy, is just to keep using the lens family that they have. I've got a lot of Nikon lenses, including going back to the 60s. But the key thing, we're going to try to see how this does in low light. It should be able to do better in low light. Now my lighting conditions from outside have gone down. I'm going to turn off all my different light sources. So all I've got left at this point is the desk lamp. That's still coming through reasonably well. I've got a little bit back on from the computer that you see behind here. I'm going to turn off the desk lamp. I've also got a little bit of light coming from behind the camera. So, you know, if you really had some real need to shoot in super low light, this might work. I see it kind of fading in and out. That might be reacting to the bars jumping on the recorder. We'll we'll kind of see how that goes. So it doesn't fade in and out so much, so that's good.
Hello, Mr. Thumb.
But probably I don't have a lot of need for this type of purpose. We'll see though next if it gets in real close focus. So in this shot I've got the camera placed to the objects about as close as it will focus, which looks like it's about 18 inches. You see we've got a real shallow depth of field. The camcorder front is at about the same plane as the Nikon, and you know, just a little bit before or ahead of it, it's getting out of focus, which is, you know, possibly a desirable effect for artistic purposes. A little bit behind it, the webcam is still pretty clear. Let's see if we can tighten that just a little bit. Okay, so now that's just a little bit sharper because it's farther away. I guess I'll move that back and keep going with, so I'm doing manual focus here, and that's going to be the name of the game with this lens because it's an older lens that doesn't support the autofocus system that Nikon has put in their DSLR cameras. You know, quick rant here. Nikon's famous for their backwards compatible lens system, and that's kind of that's the main reason I've been a Nikon guy over the years, is because I don't want them obsoleting my lenses. I got out of Minolta about 25 years ago for that reason. But the problem with that is it's kind of only partly true, which is they always seem to add new things that make the old lens nominally usable but not fully useful. Like, you know, this was an autofocus lens on the camera that I bought it for, which is a film camera from the previous generation, and now it's a manual focus lens. So that's kind of off the subject, but I feel better now. Okay, now we'll go to looking at our other two cameras. Filming the same scene with the same distance as before. With the Moto G5 Plus cell phone that I've got. It's a couple years old. I'm going to get in close and see how close we can get. I think this one may have some advantages in terms of close-up shooting and low light situations. So when we kind of run out of gas on this, I'm about 4 inches away. I'm going to turn on my little desk lamp again. Try to go in really close. Start to lose focus at again about that same 4 inches away. That's going to be our limitation. Turned on my soft light, which has a nice soft lighting effect. It doesn't change my focusing distance. That's not surprising. Well, let's say that I'm using the digital zoom. This is a 4K capable system that I'm running in HD, which is about half the resolution, I believe. So what you're seeing here is a digital zoom that's kind of comparable to the 4 inches that I ran out at. I'm going to go in closer. Still, it takes, like, you saw that it snapped to zoom. See if we snap to zoom again. So now I'm about 8 inches away with the use of the digital zoom, probably about 2 to 1. You can see the focus is hunting around a little bit. That's not desirable, but it wouldn't be an issue maybe if I'm hand holding, so that's kind of an issue. Now we're recording through the webcam, You're seeing our other characters. Got this cable going over here. It's a little bit of a crooked shot. I kind of jury-rigged the thing on top of the tripod. It doesn't come with a tripod mount. A real stark difference here is this is a wide-angle lens. You can tell by I'm at about the same distance, and yet I've got a much wider field of view. So, you know, that makes sense for the purposes of a webcam. It's trying to work with, you know, someone who's 18 inches away or whatever from the camera. So we're going to move in close here. Pardon the jiggle. We've got kind of a scary Attack of the Monster cameras going on here. I'm going to get in real close to the Nikon symbol since we've been using that as our kind of focus element. So that's working from about maybe 10 inches away, and then we run out of gas. Now I'm going to go back to where I was before. Right now I've got only my soft light on. Oh, turns out I had my desk light on also. We'll do some more. These are our fluorescent lights coming back on. And we've got a little flare here out of the top, lens flare. That's called from light hitting it. I could actually solve that by just cupping my hand over the top like that, you see. But, you know, that's okay. This is kind of a torture test for lighting for the purposes of a webcam. Now I'm going to get rid of my soft light, so I've just got the fluorescent tubes on top. That's fine. Taking out one tube right now. Taking out the second tube now. So this is kind of equivalent to the other low light situations we've seen. I've got a little bit of light coming from the back from another light. I've turned on my desk lamp. So let's turn that off again and see. We've got what appears to be a, this is known in the trade as a beat frequency. See these lines that are rolling up across the back here on the desk? I'm sure you've noticed those. At least if they're appearing on the video. I'm seeing them on my computer that I'm using as a monitor. So let's do a little video feedback. If you've never done this, this is kind of fun. You take a picture of a video with a picture with the video.
Whee!
Go all the way into the depths of outer space. So kind of my impression here is this might be useful as a as an auxiliary camera, a secondary camera, really, or a wide-angle camera with nearby objects if I want to have that. I think it does have some purpose for what I'm doing, but, you know, will not become the primary camera. Thought we'd bring our cast of characters in for a final bow and some conclusions. Overall, I think I'm going to be using the camcorder as I have been for kind of general use shooting. I can see some advantages of each of the others. I think the cell phone, there's going to be times when that's easiest to set up. I might use that as a top-down view that I take simultaneously with the camcorder. The Nikon may be useful for when I want a, you know, special lens capability with the interchangeability of the lenses. Overall, I don't think this Nikon is a good fit for this type of, you know, posed video at my workbench. Looking at other videos on YouTube, it seems like Canon and the Lumix brand are kind of popular for YouTube production. It has to do with, general flexibility and so on. This Nikon goes back about 5 years maybe, and it's really directed at still picture use more than anything. The video capability is kind of a secondary feature of it. So I might find some use for it, but it's going to be kind of limited. The webcam, I was actually pretty impressed with how well that did, as far as that's what you're looking through right now. We'll recompose just a little bit. I think the wide angle feature of it, which is you're seeing in action here, there's going to be some cases when I use that. I might also use that as a top-down type view. Let's try that out real quick. Imagine this sort of thing in conjunction with, most of my video so far has been taken with kind of a side view like this. So we'll find a use for all of them, but I think the Canon camcorder is going to continue to be my workhorse. And if I'm having some good success on YouTube, there may come the time when I invest in something that's really one all-around camera that's really good for YouTube use. And if you want to help me be successful, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.